Tiny Habits is a 2020 book written by Fogg. The key idea is that by creating tiny habits, which are incredibly small and easy daily behaviors, these behaviors create a snowball effect that grow into improving our lives. The book is full of tools to help you develop healthy habits and untangle the habits that hold you back. The following bare bones summary covers the concepts in the book. If you want the actionable steps and the guides that the book provides, you'll have to get the book. It is a very good reference book once it has been read. The formula: B equals MAP. A behavior is most likely to occur when a person has reached enough motivation and has the ability to attempt the behavior while being prompted to attempt the behavior. The idea is similar to the idea of flow in psychology. We want to use behavioral design to create healthy habits, using behavioral design to show us why we have bad habits and haven't been able to develop the good habits that we aspire to create. The last major overall concept from this book is that repeated behaviors lead to success in the long term. If we can develop a behavior that will inch us towards our goals, then it doesn't matter if it's a huge behavior or a small one. This book encourages small, consistent wins. Motivation. The model for motivation breaks down into three pieces: the person being an intrinsic motivator, the action being an extrinsic motivator, and the context, which is the place where the motivation can be caused. Motivation is difficult to change and use for making habits because they fluctuate over time and differ from person to person. Ability. It's important to start tiny so that we automatically have the ability to complete a behavior and feel accomplishment surrounding the behavior. If the success criteria is too hard, we'll feel guilt about the behavior and likely not want to try again. When assessing if you have the ability to do a behavior, you want to consider the following things. Do you have the resources, including time, money, and equipment? Are you capable physically or mentally? This includes if you have physical or mental endurance. And does the behavior fit into your current routine? Assess the behavior on these three things. If one of them is weak, then you need to adjust the behavior required in some way to make it easier to attempt. Remember, we want the habit to be incredibly easy. Prompt. When creating a prompt, we want something from the context, the environment, to remind ourselves that we should take action. Prompts can be as simple as setting an alarm, reminder notes, getting an email, a red light at a traffic light, waiting in a queue, placing an item in your kitchen that will remind you to clean up. There are more examples in the book. You probably already have several prompts in your life that you can use. Even more, you can use the end action of a current habit to trigger your desired behavior. The book calls these established habits anchors. They need to be a clear, unambiguous signal for the following habit. Now we need to match a previous habit to the habit we want to develop. It has to be in the same place, have the same frequency, and the same theme or purpose. You can use this technique to develop other small habits which can help you. Like when a work colleague greets you in the morning, you could develop the habit of taking a deep breath to get ready for the day. It is essentially a type of cognitive behavioral therapy. The book has an exercise which takes you through listing all the possible anchors that you have already throughout your day. Making a comprehensive list would be useful in order to work out where you can slot in some tiny habits. Emotions. It's important to embrace the small victories, otherwise you won't want to do them. After you complete a habit, it's important to celebrate. The celebration can be done in many different ways. You will need to experiment with what works best for you. Some people like to say something out loud. Some like to pose or give themselves a thumbs up. Imagine you have completed something truly awesome. What is the action and the feeling that you get when that happens? Use that celebration to drive your habits. Once you have completed the habit, you should celebrate immediately and intensely. This means your brain will link the habit to your celebration with a stronger relationship. We love to feel good, so you will end up associating the habit with feeling good. Celebrating sounds phony to some people, however keep this in mind, you are celebrating the fact that you are establishing a healthy habit that brings you one more step towards the greater version of yourself. Lastly, it may help to rehearse your habit and celebration. This will get you ready for when you will carry out the habit and what will be its usual part of your routine. To further enhance the effects of celebration on the habit, you can celebrate you starting doing the habit, while doing the habit, and when you finish doing the habit as you usually would. From tiny to transformative. Sticking to small habits leads to larger habits or other habits that spring off in other areas in our lives. Habits sometimes grow and/or they multiply. If we are frequently finding small wins in our daily experiences, then we end up pushing ourselves towards a positive mindset and have an optimistic look on life. When choosing your habits to work on, choose ones that interest you. Have a variety of habits and be flexible with the ones you choose over time. The way you will know things are working is when you see growth. If you aren't able to hold on to one habit, sometimes it's best to let it go or just change things up. You're learning how you respond to new habits and growing habits. Don't worry too much about the habits themselves. Think of the process of trying to grow any tiny habit. What happens when you start changing small things is that you will see that you have the power to change in general. This will feed back into the idea that you can actually change your identity as well. Identification with your new habits is the greatest step because as you identify with healthy habits, this identity will start to bleed into other parts in your life. Untangling bad habits. There are 3 steps to undoing bad habits. Develop new healthy habits, design the bad habits out, or swap the behavior. The author encourages developing good habits first so you can experience the power of changing habits. This will give you confidence in removing the bad habits. The next step in designing a bad habit out is to do the reverse of trying to make a wanted habit. All the key ideas already given in the book so far can be reversed to make the bad habit too hard to do. Again, we're using the B equals MAP formula. Remove, avoid, or ignore the prompt. Make it difficult to be able to do the habit, and reduce the motivation or add a demotivator. Motivation can be hard to change, especially because motivation can change in pressured moments, so it's not recommended to focus so much on that portion. Swapping behaviors is a possible last option. When swapping habits, you want to choose a new habit that is easier to do and more motivating, otherwise the swap won't work. You should rehearse swapping the habit and remember to celebrate the new habit for changing. You want to associate greater feelings for the swap than for doing the old habit. Changing with others. This chapter gives a step-by-step guide to introducing new habits to a group that you are in. It describes how to help guide others by either acting as a leader or by subtly guiding from the side. This chapter goes into depth for the steps that follow the same steps for the individual habit growth, but instead it does it in a group context. The book finishes with a shortened summary of the Fogg behavior model. A behavior is most likely to occur when a person has enough motivation and ability to attempt the behavior while being prompted to attempt the behavior. Conclusion: this book was full of short exercises and guides to designing behaviors. It's hard to summarize it without taking away those parts which are really useful. I highly recommend it as a read because of its practical value. If you found this video useful for any reason, give it a like, and if you want more, please subscribe. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and make good choices.